Now let's jump in and start playing. We'll assume you know how to hook up MIDI and audio. If you aren't in program mode, go there by pressing the program button. If you have a rack, make sure your keyboard is transmitting on channel 1. Then check the upper right-hand corner of the 2500's display to see that it's on channel 1. If not, you can change it using the channel bank buttons or the channel soft buttons. To scroll through different programs, you can use the wheel, the arrow buttons, or the plus and minus soft buttons. You can also call up a specific program by typing its number and pressing enter. Take some time to explore the preset programs, making sure to use the mod wheel and other control sources. For those of you who have a rack, if your keyboard has a data slider, make sure it is set to controller number 6 and explore what happens to the sound when you move it. On most of the preset programs, moving the mod wheel and data slider and using aftertouch will change the sound in subtle or dramatic ways, giving you some idea of the power of vast synthesis. A complete list of the preset programs and how control sources affect them is printed in the reference section of the manual. You can use the View soft button to switch the display between a big view and a regular view.
Jordan has already showed you can turn the wheel or enter a number specifically, but you may want to just go bank by bank, and the quick way to do that is to press the increment-decrement buttons right under the alpha wheel, like so. By pressing the increment and decrement buttons simultaneously, we'll advance by 100. Right now we're in program mode, so we go from program 1 to program 100. Another press of both of these buttons takes us to 200, the first user-created program. Again, by double pressing these buttons, you'll cycle through any banks that have programs in them. This also works for setup mode. If I were to select setups, I can also scroll by increments of 100, just by pressing the increment-decrement button simultaneously.
The 2500 is 16-part multi-timbral. That means you can have a different program on each channel. You can see what program is on each channel by using the channel bank buttons or the channel soft buttons. You can easily call up a specific program for a MIDI channel by going to that channel and picking a program that you want. If you have the rack, keep in mind that you may be looking at channel 2. But if you are sending from your keyboard on channel 1, you will still hear the program that is on channel 1. As you scroll through different programs on various MIDI channels, you may occasionally see a program that is in parenthesis, and that will not make any sound. This is because you have selected what Kurzweil calls a drum program. Normal programs in the 2500 can contain up to 3 layers, but you can actually have programs with as many as 32 layers. Programs that are more than 3 layers are called drum programs. In fact, they do not have to have drum sounds assigned to them. They can have any sound. But we use the name drum program because we feel it's the most likely use for a program with 32 layers. The only limitation for a drum program is that it must be played in a MIDI channel which has been designated as a drum channel. A drum channel can play any program. It does not have to play a drum program, but a drum program must be played in a drum channel. You can have up to 8 drum channels on the 2500. Under default conditions, channels 1 through 8 are drum channels, but you can change this to be channels 1 through 7, plus the channel of your choice. To set that channel, go to the master page. You will see a parameter marked drum channel. Set this to any value between 9 and 16.
There are many ways to use your 2500 in live performance mode, and thanks to the very handy buttons on the front panel, you can do an awful lot. I'm going to use the MIDI channel buttons to scroll through a variety of programs on different MIDI channels and layer them in real time, and also use the octave shift keys to allow me to do some fancy arpeggios very quickly, playing in the same range of the keyboard. switching to MIDI channel 1 and using a piano, changing its octave, and to 0 back to normal tuning, I just press both octave keys. Changing to MIDI channel 2 for more orchestra. Changing to MIDI channel 3 for some wind. Pressing both channel buttons to return back to MIDI channel 1 to play piano again. Changing my octave. And zeroing back to normal tuning. So these are some very simple uses of the front panel buttons that allow a lot of creativity to happen on the fly.